Principles of Management students, how are you doing this evening? So this week we are entering into week 4 of the course, and we are going to be working on chapter 5 out of your textbook. Hopefully most of you have turned in your homework diligently, and I am very proud of you, as well as kept up with the 2 discussion posts that we have had thus far. And so this chapter, we're going to start talking we're going to relate management to ethics. And so in chapter 5, what you will find on page 119 of your text, of your management text, ethics, corporate responsibility, and sustainability. So the first thing you want to do for chapter 5 is make sure that you go through the text and you touch base with some of the topics that we are looking at here relating to ethics. So the text, what we find is the definition of ethics and business ethics, right? Ethics, this idea of how we act and lead and live and lead our lives and treat others, right? Our choices and our decision-making processes, our moral principles. And so this chapter, we start to talk about some of those things. We talk about descriptive, normative, and analytical ways of looking at a framework for classifying the levels of ethical analysis. We look at the types of values that motivate ethics at the individual level, right? Some of the topics that we are going to do: major ethical principles that guide individuals and organizations, why ethical leadership is so important in organizations, the difference between value-based ethics and compliance, right? Compliance, adhering to regulation in organizations. This idea of corporate social responsibility, right? Something that has taken off in the last 20 years is this idea of a whole department in some of the larger companies, CSR, and actually a executive vice president who is in charge of social responsibility. So a corporate officer. There's a whole department now in many organizations as we move into an era where customer service and social responsibility play a large role for our companies and whether or not they will survive moving forward, right? It's an important component of their persona, right? Of their outward, of their label, of their brand. And then what ethical issues do organizations and individuals encounter in the global environment? And what are some future items that we might see discussed relative to ethics, right? And so when you're thinking about corporate culture, and this is like the shared assumptions of a company, right? Some of you may work for a company and there is a specific type of corporate culture. Again, as a management text, and as a management course, we talk a lot about how managers influence that corporate culture and their behavior, setting the tone for ethical behavior. Ethical items that we see throughout the globe, right? Some different leadership attitudes. Even though this is not the chapter specifically on leadership, there are a lot of, because we're talking about management, there are a lot of leadership traits, leadership capacities, leadership guidelines, really, that we discuss almost in every chapter. And so go ahead and take a look through chapter 5. And then I'm going to have you review the PowerPoint that goes along with chapter 5, asking you a few critical questions. And you can do that in either order. Some students like to look at the PowerPoint ahead of time to give them an idea of the important components of the chapter. And then I have a short video for you, Corporate Social Responsibility, Microsoft Case Study. So that, make sure that you take a look at that. It will give you a deeper sense of what corporate social responsibility means at a large company level. So, and then also I have chapter 5 review questions from this week. And this week we also have a discussion. I see there are a few students that have already posted in the discussion. And so, kind of playing off what we've learned about this idea of a SWOT analysis, right? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. These are internal and external pressures that we see, pressures or characteristics, right? So when we think about strengths and weaknesses, we think about internal things happening within a company. And so this discussion topic for the week: select a business from a specific industry, such as a hospitality business, hotel, restaurant, a fitness center, a manufacturing company, or a not-for-profit, to name a few. So you can choose either, some of you have extensive business experience. You can choose an industry that you are familiar with, right? So don't make it any harder than it has to be, any more difficult than it needs to be. Pick an industry that you have some knowledge of. Those of you that maybe have less work experience, that's okay. Pick an industry that you have interest in. Or maybe pick an industry, if you've had Business 101, pick the industry that the company you did for your topic, whatever industry they may operate within. And then you're going to perform a short SWOT analysis. And you can do this in bullet points, or you could do it in a few sentences. This is the SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Strengths and weaknesses are your internal characteristics, right? What are the strengths of the company that you choose, or the business that you choose within the industry? What are the weaknesses, right? So you will list a few of those. And you can refer to the text as well to look up these strengths and weaknesses. And then the opportunities and threats are the exterior, right? Outside of the company, within the industry. What are some opportunities within the specific industry that maybe the company hasn't taken advantage of yet, or possible opportunities that might be on the horizon? Threats, on the other hand, are what are some things that might be coming down the pipeline that could be a threat to the company of your choosing. Now, I will say that a SWOT analysis is a great way for students in academia to assess companies. SWOT analysis, some of you may use those within your companies. Some companies do a SWOT analysis of their industry or of their company on a weekly basis. Some at a weekly meeting. Some do it on a monthly level. Maybe not even that often, but really assessing your opportunities and threats is a very important component. And so those are the topics for this week. Please keep moving forward. And week 4, the thing that's different about week 4 is that next week is our Easter break, or our spring break. And so if you, these items are not due until the end of break, which is 4/9, Sunday, April 9th. And so if you have questions, please let me know about those items, or about when the due dates are for discussion 3 and the topics from chapter 5. Have a wonderful afternoon, and I will talk to you all later in the week and circle back around.